Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most absolutely stunning true crime convictions in recent memory. We're looking at the case of Larry Millete, and we're going to break down exactly how prosecutors achieved what honestly seems impossible, proving a first-degree, premeditated murder without a weapon, without a crime scene, and, most incredibly, without a body. It's a fascinating look at how a web of circumstantial evidence, when it's built just right, leaves absolutely no way out.
Think about this sheer contrast in time for a second. For 5.5 agonizing years, Maya Millete's family waited in total suspense after she vanished. But then, after a grueling 8-week trial, it took the jury a mere 6 hours of deliberation to hand down a definitive guilty verdict. Years of painful waiting versus just hours in a jury room. That tells you everything you need to know about the absolute ironclad strength of the prosecution's case.
Section 1. A stunningly swift verdict inside the emotional courtroom.
This quote from Maya's sister really captures the heart of this whole tragedy. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom, which was totally packed with people wearing green, Maya's favorite color, by the way, just erupted. There was cheering, there were tears, hugs, the whole shebang. But Maya's sister, Mary Chris, who was literally sobbing and hunched over, delivered this incredibly powerful, bittersweet reality check. They got the conviction, sure, but that second chapter, it's still wide open. Maya's 3 kids have been waiting over 5 years. The family still has to bring Maya home.
So let's look at the jury to see how this incredibly swift decision happened. We're talking about 7 women and 5 men who had just sat through 8 exhausting weeks of really heavy emotional testimony. The way they reached their verdict is fascinating. According to post-trial interviews, they just went around the room, giving each juror exactly 3 minutes to state what stood out to them the most. No arguing, just sticking purely to the facts. Right after that, they took a private paper vote. Unanimous. Instantly. They completely tossed out lesser charges like second-degree murder or manslaughter and locked right in on first-degree premeditated murder.
Section 2. Murder without a body, overcoming the ultimate legal hurdle.
So how do you actually convict someone of first-degree murder without a weapon or a body? It's the million-dollar question, right? Cases like this are exceptionally rare. The defense hammered hard on this, basically telling 12 strangers, hey, you can't make a permanent decision about a man's life without a body or a weapon. You can't have regrets here. But the prosecution totally flipped that narrative on its head. They argued that Larry planned this thing so meticulously that he absolutely shouldn't be rewarded for successfully hiding his crime. To them, the absence of a body wasn't a lack of evidence. It was actually proof of his calculated premeditation. It's pretty easy to see why the jury instantly rejected the defense's theory. The prosecution laid it out clearly. Larry murdered Maya on January 7, 2021, because she was finally taking steps to get a divorce and escape a highly toxic, controlling 20-year marriage. And the defense's counterargument? They actually suggested Maya might have just hopped over a wrought iron fence in the backyard and run away. Come on. The jury saw right through that. I mean, it is entirely unbelievable that a devoted mother of 3 would completely abandon her kids, leave her Jeep parked right out front to dodge surveillance cameras, and literally never touch her credit cards again. And the defense didn't stop there. They also tried to point the finger at a guy named Jamie Laird, who they claimed Maya was having an affair with. But talk about an unbreakable alibi. On the exact day Maya disappeared, Jamie Laird was literally in the hospital, watching his wife give birth to their child. Yeah, that's an ironclad alibi for sure. The jury didn't buy the defense's deflection for a single second. Section 3. The Mountain of Evidence. The Digital and Physical Trail. So what exactly convinced the jury beyond a reasonable doubt in just 6 hours? Well, consider this absolutely chilling digital trail Larry left behind. Prosecutors showed he was searching the internet for hemlock, which is a poisonous plant that actually grows in San Diego County. And terrifyingly, investigators even found a small vial of it right in the Millete home. He was also Googling fatal doses of sleeping pills, carbon monoxide, and Rohypnol, the date rape drug. Add to that some truly bizarre communications with online spellcasters and these super controlling wife training messages. When you combine that digital footprint with neighborhood surveillance video showing Maya walking into their home and never ever coming out, the walls really started closing in on him. The prosecution also laid out an exact timeline of Larry's movements the day after Maya disappeared. At 6:30 in the morning on January 8th, surveillance catches him repositioning his Lexus. Jurors were led to believe he was doing this to load Maya's body, possibly stuffed in a suitcase or a cooler, into the vehicle.
Then, get this, for the next 11 hours and 20 minutes, his whereabouts are completely unaccounted for. Just a black hole. When he finally showed back up, he initially told one of Maya's brothers he'd been at work, but when that obvious lie fell apart, he totally changed his story and claimed he was at the beach with his 4-year-old son. But the real kicker here is the exact number 444. That is the number of missing miles on Larry's Lexus that he absolutely, positively, could not account for during that 11-hour and 20-minute window. Obviously, this was a massive red flag for the jurors. It proved he didn't just take a quick trip to the local beach, he went on a very, very long drive.
To completely dismantle his story, we have to talk about his cell phone. Larry told Maya's family he was unreachable all day because his phone had died. Well, digital forensics are pretty incredible these days. They proved he actually turned his phone off manually, and when he did it, it still had a massive 87% charge. As one juror pointed out later, if he was really just at work, if he hadn't vanished for half the day, and if his phone hadn't magically been switched off, things might be different. But he simply couldn't explain away the means, the motive, and the opportunity.
Section 4. The unfinished chapter. The ongoing search for Maya.
Based on those 444 missing miles we were just talking about, investigators and the jurors heavily suspect Maya is buried out in the desert. Specifically, they are zeroing in on the Glamis and Blythe areas, way out near Yuma and the Colorado River. The prosecution made a point to note that the family was already really familiar with these specific off-roading and camping areas. Sadly, this vast desert is exactly where everyone believes Larry dumped her body during that missing 11-hour window. When the guilty verdict was finally read in courts, Larry's reaction was intensely scrutinized. People in the room noted his eyebrows went up, his face got red, and allegedly a single tear rolled down his cheek. But overall, he maintained a really stoic demeanor. But that stoicism is masking the brutal reality of the number 25. By being convicted of first-degree murder, he is now permanently locked into a sentence of 25 years to life in prison.
As we wrap up this explainer, we are left with a really provocative question. Before the trial even started, an investigative reporter actually pitched a hypothetical scenario to Larry right through the jailhouse glass. He asked, if you settled, didn't go to trial, and revealed the location of the body, would you do it? Legal experts confirmed he could have potentially gotten a 10-year reduction on his sentence by dropping the charge to second-degree murder. Larry's response to that reporter? He was totally stoic, totally silent, and just stared right back. Now that he's taken the massive gamble of a trial and lost, locking himself into a life sentence, we really have to wonder, will he ever give up the location to give his own children some peace, or will Maya's family be forced to search that vast desert forever? It's a haunting reality that just goes to prove that while justice might be served in a courtroom, true closure is so much harder to find.